Hello everybody, welcome back. We're going to talk about the TA on Atom, which over the last couple of months it's actually shown something pretty decent, for what could be a pretty big move. Now price predictions are not my thing, so I'm not going to go there, but I'm going to show you something that I've probably shown you in the past, but I want to show you it again after what's happened after this dump that I predicted in the market. I just want to put it out there. Some people still thought that it was just going to go straight up. Not us. We knew. There's a very good chance, very, very, very good chance that it was going to come down. Anyway, since it came down, Atom has done something pretty sweet, and I just wanted to present that to you, as well as what it's been doing these last couple of months that we've been sort of monitoring. So first of all, there was a lot of charts doing this, a single drive of regular bullish divergence on the RSI and obviously the monoflow index, but the RSI specifically on a weekly time frame. At the same time that some of these charts, not all of these altcoins, but this is one of quite a handful, usually top to mid cap coins that were doing these type of things. At the same time that was happening, the Bitcoin dominance was putting in the opposite, which is bearish divergence, with obviously bearish divergence on the money flow index as well, all at the same time. So I was like, okay, so the ones that I think are probably forming the bottoms, and the evidence I've got for an alt season, mix those two things together, you kind of get a good idea that there is going to be some kind of alt season. Now, it doesn't really obviously tell you how big it's going to be, but because it's on a weekly, it generally suggests it would be relatively large, larger than something that you'd see on a daily or a 4-hour. Obviously, the higher term time frame usually equates to a larger move in general. Obviously, it would be slower, or would appear slower, because you're buying on a weekly. You might have to take weeks for it to even do anything, even prove if you're wrong, to be honest. But they usually amount to much larger gains. So we see that across the board for quite a few of these now. But Atom has done all right, from marking off its low from this last drive. It had 2 drives of bullish divergence on this, which is something that most altcoins did not. Most altcoins had a single drive. This one had 2, similar to the bearish divergence on the dominance chart. So this one managed to do 44% from marking off its low, its last low, which arguably was a double bottom as well. Not just a double bottom, but a triple, a quadruple, and back in time, the inception point. So really strong area of support. And if we are marking off a low here, which we may be, epic times will be ahead, on a weekly, you'd at least target the top of the death cross which is around $8.40, and then beyond that you've got this descending trend line, which would take you at the moment to around $11. 200 simple up here at around $11.70. And if it breaks all of these, which is obviously a big ask, but if it were to break all of these, probably straight up into the 20s towards the 30s, It would be like that, because we're talking sell walls here. There's lots of sell walls at the moment, sell walls from lower areas. Once this area is kind of broken, it really is a nice big step up to 22.5 and then 28. Just to measure that, what that would even look like. So from 12 to around here, it'll be another 85% move. These things are possible. We've already seen 45, and it's not even started. And then continuation from there, 134. Remember, most people aren't buying down here. Most people look at this chart and think it's terrible, and they've got a point. but at the same time, it is kind of like coiling up for a big breakout at some point soon. And obviously buying that support if possible is going to be good. But the next thing I wanted to show you is obviously the supports across the other time frames. So the first thing that we see so far is a nice retest of the 20 moving average, the center of a Bollinger Band. So that gives you 65% more likely chance that you're going to remain above that band, and we came down to test it, similar to the previous week. Prior to that, we spent very little time out of it, we're mostly below it. And as you'd expect, once you are below it, you mostly stay below it. Atom does have these big chaotic moves, though, that just break above it, but it gives you a retest at some point for the next move up, and that's kind of what it's done here. So we've got that retest of the 20 moving average. You go to the daily, you also have something very similar as well. It's basically very similar. So all candle bodies held mostly above the 20 moving average. We also got a retest of the 50 exponential moving average. So okay, that's cool. So we bounced from this moving average, and it moved up and closed above the center of the Bollinger Band for the most part. If you go to the 4 hour, you get something even better. You get a classic golden cross retest, which is Most of the time, I don't know the statistics to this one, but I've been trading for over 10 years, more like 12 years now, with mostly the same analysis, at least over the last 8 years, and the same style. And what I always see is when these golden crosses get retested across any time frame, it's always worth giving it a shot. It's more than 65% of the time, I would say, just anecdotally, that it will bounce from one of these, and not just bounce, but V-shaped recovery back to where it came from at least, and then maybe some after that. Obviously, the same thing applies to a death cross. You get a death cross, coming up into the retest, and you have the opposite of a V-shaped recovery. You collapse. So anyway, supports across most time frames there. Obviously weekly, daily, and the 4-hourly. I actually haven't even bothered to look at the monthly. Why would you? It's so wrecked city. But actually just looking at it right now, we've got another drive of bullish divergence on the monthly as well. You don't normally even see those at all. So it does look like this low is such a serious low, a low that was worth taking advantage of, a low that is just less than $1 value, all that being over 25%. But no one catches the low, no one gets the top. You're lucky enough to get a piece of price action in between. And look, I'm not saying this. Honestly, I don't want you to just go off and buy if you are in any way influenced by what I'm saying. I should hope that you have more sense than to just buy after watching a video on YouTube. But I make these videos because this is the stuff that I'm doing anyway, and I explain the reasons that I'm doing them. I'm not shilling anything. Why would I do that? It's not like I own anything or any stake in it. Any of this is just a YouTube video, do you know what I mean? Right, so long story short, bullish divergence, major supports, moving averages, continuation looks to me like it's going to take place now, and the hope, rather than the expectation, but the hope would be that we do break out of all these areas, especially this descending trend line of $11 to $12. It should take you straight up to see some really serious big moves. And the thing that I like mostly about it is that most people won't believe that this is possible. It's similar to the XRP scenario. Obviously that was way more bullish. Before that happened, we kind of expected big things from it. It's a completely different setup to this, but I said, look, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen within a few weeks. Obviously it happened, and now everybody wants it, even at this price, which is basically new all-time highs, really. Nobody wanted it when it was low. In fact, they would have a go at you if you did buy it when it was low. They'd just, you were thought of as some kind of idiot in it, But it's not that I'm like a fanboy of any of these things, They aren't really anything real to me. They're just charts that do have volatile reactions to setups, which is what attracts people to it, really. And if you're able to trade it, or if you feel like you're able to trade it, then something like this looks pretty good. Now, I don't have a time frame for when it's going to break out. I mean, at the moment, it's in bullish territory across all time frames, mostly, and it's got huge shifts in its momentum and money flow. The only thing is, it's just not broken out yet. Now, that is something very similar to XRP. That had a money flow and momentum breakout long before the price action, and then when the price action finally broke through the supports, it launched massively. Huge 80% move in XRP. That trades at high volume all the time. It takes a lot of cash to move something like that. This thing, 24-hour trading volume, give or take 5 million at the moment, usually less. So it wouldn't take much money to break sell walls and continue the pump. If for whatever reason that happens, it will not take that much, and you can see big moves on this one. And again, I know it sounds ridiculous, but if we are to see a pump of 500%, they're the sort of things you used to see in crypto all the time. And actually, this has done that before. It did more than that. So anyway, quite a long video about something quite boring, but I just wanted to put it on the chart. Put the chart on the channel, so people can reflect on it. And let me know what you think. I know there's a lot of Atom fanboys out there, so let me know what you think. If you don't think it's going to happen, just give me a good reason. That's fine as well. I'm presenting to you reasons why it is likely to happen, not because I want it to happen. Obviously, the two run together because I'm knee-deep in this stuff, but, I'm just presenting a chart. That's all I'm doing, and my reasons for believing it's going to move. That's all I'm doing. Right, I'll leave it with you there. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.